Hi guys, hope all of us are doing great. My name is Ernest, and this is Ernest Sciences and Mathematics TV channel. In our discussion today, I'm going to look at the concept of measures of dispersion, and this is basically going to be a continuation of the concept of measures of a central tendency. And therefore, as we had said in some of our discussions in our previous videos, we had said that one of the characteristics of measures of a good measure of central tendency is that it should be appropriate for further statistical treatment. Now, in this case, we are going to look at ways of trying to describe the distribution of our data around these particular averages. And in our last discussion, I talked about the concept of measures of a central tendency, which included the mean, the mode, the median, and then I talked about the concept of quantiles, whereby they said that this basically refers to the deciles, the quartiles, and percentiles, which formed a range of numbers which, or rather a range of values which are going to, of course, assist us make comparisons between different groups of numbers. Now, in totality, these specific measures of central tendency were referred to as averages. And now in this particular case, then therefore we're going to see that the spread of data that is going to be scattering, of course, around these specific values or about these specific averages are going to be referred to as dispersion. And in this case, in case I use the specific concept of variation, then therefore it's going to be still referring to this concept of the spread or scatter of data around these average values. And that's going to form our basis of a discussion for today. Now, in this specific video, I'm going to look at the concept of dispersion, of course, as I've mentioned it. And of course, we're going to look at a few roles which is going to play in assisting us to do further statistical analysis. Now, therefore, as I've mentioned, the concept of dispersion basically refers to the spread of or rather, as I can say, this is the spread of, in our last discussion, I mentioned that this basically general representation can represent a distribution of perhaps items, and therefore we can define this one as the scatter or the spread of items of a distribution around an average value. And in some cases, as I've said, it can be referred to as variation. Now, in this case, for us to find measures of dispersion, we're going to see that we have to find a way of trying to measure the extent to which this particular data is spreading around the average values. Now, if I may give just a hypothetical illustration of a graphical representation for a particular set of data, perhaps which is just given a distribution of that specific nature, and if I give this one as a particular average, perhaps the mean given as such, the spread of data around this particular value, as we're going to see, is going to be giving us the particular concept of dispersion. Now, in our subsequent discussions, I'm going to give some graphical representations, which of course are going to assist us to distinguish the concept of this dispersional variation from other concepts that we're going to learn, of course, concerning this behavior of data. Sorry for that. Now, therefore, in this case, we're going to look at the significance of this specific spread of data about an average value. That is going to entail the concept of the role of these particular measures of dispersion. And of course, they're going to assist us comprehend the specific roles which they're going to play in the general aspect of statistics. Now, therefore, as I've said, these specific measures are going to assist us in trying to provide for ways of measuring the degree to which this data has been spread or is spreading out about an average value. And therefore, they are going to assist us make a judgment on the reliability of a measure of central tendency, reliability of a measure of central tendency. So therefore, we are going to see whether a measure of central tendency from the previous averages that I've mentioned is basically reliable or not. And that is one of the roles of measures of dispersion of the scatter and or spread of these particular items of a distribution from a particular average value. And next, we're going to see that these particular measures of dispersion are going to assist us in trying to, of course, monitor variation itself. So we have said that the dispersion basically refers to the concept of variation, and therefore the measures of this, of course, the dispersion are going to assist us monitor the concept of variation in specific ranges of numbers or the data under consideration. And of course, it's going to assist us in trying to make further statistical analysis. And this is one of the characteristics that we had mentioned in trying to, of course, see the characteristics of a measure of central tendency, which we had given in general. And of course, we said that they should be suitable for further statistical analysis. And therefore, for the role of one of the roles of the measures of central tendency is to make, of course, a provision for further statistical analysis in this particular case. And of course, we're going to see that apart from that, we're going to find a way of comparing two or more groups of data in terms of their variability, and therefore this is going to play a role in trying to make up for comparison of groups of numbers in terms of their variability. In this case, of course, these are going to be a few of the roles which we are going to see being played by the measures of dispersion. And in our subsequent discussion, of course, I'm going to look at two specific types of dispersion which we are going to use in treatment of data, or perhaps in the specific problem set that we're going to use, or in an illustration form that we're going to use in order to, of course, elaborate on this concept of measures of dispersion. And of course, we're going to list a number of measures of dispersion and discuss each and every one of them in detail so that we are able to understand these specific roles. So in that case, I'd like to encourage our members to kindly check our description boxes for various videos, which we are going to do particularly on the concept of measures of dispersion and the general topics in statistics. So that is it for now, guys. By God bless you. Catch us in our next video.